Hi, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Diablo Immortal debacle, and there's a few issues around this, of course. One, of course, is the fact that it is screwing over the established customer base for Diablo games at Blizzard. Secondly is why it's not a stupid decision from Blizzard's point of view, although it may have been a stupid decision to announce it quite the way they did. But also, thirdly, even if you agree that it is, you are blaming the wrong people. Now, first of all, what's happened if you've been living under a rock or just woken up from a coma, the usual things. Diablo Immortal, a new Diablo game, which has been announced, but it's going to be mobile only. Now, first of all the people sounding surprised at this. We knew it was coming. We knew that Blizzard were developing a mobile game. That was known for some time. Okay, I at least didn't know what it was going to be for. It was hardly going to be a brand new game, because why do that, especially if you're going to go into a completely new market, and a large market, by the way, that's going to come up in a bit. You might as well do it for one of your current IPs, and they've done it for Diablo. It had to be for one of them, and I suppose it was quite likely to be for something which they haven't done anything for a little while, so Diablo or StarCraft, I would have thought would be the obvious ones to go there. Now, obviously, an announcement like this at BlizzCon was a pretty stupid thing to do, because, of course, who's at BlizzCon? Blizzard players. And Blizzard players have to be, if not exclusively, then almost exclusively, people who have PCs. PCs capable of playing those games. Yes, of course, in theory, you could be a big Blizzard fan because you're a big Hearthstone fan and you only play that on mobile and you don't have a PC. Okay, sure. But the vast majority of, certainly of people that go in there, are likely to be PC players, and if they were interested in Diablo, they would likely have wanted to play it on the PC, as they have done for Diablo 3, Diablo 2, and I suppose Diablo, but I don't even know anything about that. So it was always going to go down like a lead balloon. But in terms of the blame at this point, it's very unfair to blame the particular developer who went up. A couple of things. First of all, it's not a developer decision. The developers didn't say, hey, do you know what? We want to make a mobile game, and only a mobile game. No, they were told to. You know, from a developer's point of view, if they come up with an idea for a game, sure, they can pitch it. I mean, Hearthstone came up, that's that sort of line. But ultimately, you know, they say, right, we want a mobile game. And of course they do. It's a game studio. The mobile market is huge. Now, what I want to do is I want to read from you from an article. And these things crop up all the time. It's why it didn't take me very long to search it. This is an article on the BBC website from earlier this year. I'll just read out the opening bit of it, because I was trying to say, when people were saying, well, you know, why are they sacking off their customers just to try and get, because obviously it's for try and get new customers. Why, you know, it's not normally sensible business to screw over your current customers who are loyal to your brand to seek out other ones, unless those other ones are in a huge market, in which case it could be worth it. And I was saying, look, you know, I see stories all the time of teenagers becoming millionaires basically by developing a mobile game. And that's crucial for a couple of reasons. But let me just read this article, the start of it. Alex Balfans is an 18-year-old student at Duke University in North Carolina. Or in America, should I pronounce that as Duke University? Every day he has lectures or seminars followed by assignments. Like many students his age, he devotes a couple of hours a day and many more at weekends to video games. A couple. Funny. But he's not just playing them, he's making them, and making a lot of money doing it. In the 10 months that Jailbreak has been released, it has already yielded 7-figure profits. Balfan says of his Cops and Robbers adventure game released last year, a few weeks ago, it was played for the billionth time. Balfan is just one of thousands of young gaming entrepreneurs in their teens or 20s making money in an industry that makes $36 billion last year. Now, this is ultimately it. It is a huge market. And the second point of that, this is my link to, you know, the idea of teenagers who are doing their normal stuff becoming rich out of this. It doesn't cost nearly as much to make a game for mobile than it does for the PC. And this is why I can understand people who would say, well, yes, all right, obviously they're going to develop a game for mobile. It's a huge market. But why couldn't they have just released it on the PC as well? It would cost a lot more money. It's as simple as that. And this is what I mean. It's not a developer decision. This is the money. This is the people with the money that are deciding this. They say, okay, it's going to cost this much to make a really kick-ass Diablo game for mobile. And then someone comes along, maybe the developers went along and said, okay, you know, what about for the PC? PC, how much would that cost? Cost it up for us. They come back with a figure. No, it's nowhere near as efficient. It's like you can spend this amount of money to make this amount of money on the mobile market. Really good profit margin there. And then you work out how much extra it's going to cost to make it for PC, which may, of course, delay the release for even mobile. And then you say, well, how much are we estimated to be able to make from PC sales? You look at that and you go, no, we're not going to do this. And it's crap for the current players. I have been looking at games, you know, the gaming industry for a few years and thinking to myself, it's going down a trajectory of mobile and console rather than PC. And we all know the reason for that. Lots of people have mobile phones. There was that bad comment on the stage where Wyatt said, what, don't you guys have phones? As if we were supposed to go, oh yeah, we've got phones, we could play it on phones. Missing the point that we don't want to play it on bloody phones. I have a phone. I don't even want I have a phone out of necessity. I don't like using it a lot. I certainly don't want to play games on it. I do not want to play games on a mobile. I don't even want to play games on a console, quite frankly. But you can understand it. People have mobile phones, so they have the facility to play these games. All right, that may not own a PC, or at least, you know, and with a PC, a bog standard PC is not usually that great for gaming. You need to spend a certain amount to get a reasonable gaming rig. Console itself, okay, that's a dedicated gaming machine as well. It's not something you can carry around and use for other things as well anyway, that you might naturally have, even if you hadn't played mobile games before. But a console is still way cheaper than a gaming PC, a decent gaming PC. So, and I've worried about this for some time, that that's the way games are going, and I'm just going to be left behind as a PC player, just no longer getting exciting titles within maybe 10 years, something like that. I'm just a dinosaur. And that's unfortunately the way it is. But an industry, a game studio, ultimately is... And I know when it comes to BlizzCon, what they give us, the people who go up on stage, are the people who love developing the games. Even, you know, J.L. Brack, as it is now, the president of Blizzard, comes from a background of developing games. So that's all they give to us. Which is, by the way, this is why I feel sorry for Wyatt, because he's a developer. All right, they do the BlizzCon thing. The senior developers, you can argue part of their job effectively is PR, but they are not selected for their job based on any PR skills, which is why it's no surprise that these people who come on stage mostly make a complete arse of it. Some of them are naturals. Chris Metzen was a great natural on stage. He had a great stage presence. There's a couple of others as well that are pretty decent at it. Some of them are awful. I watched some presentations last night where they messed up left, right and centre. All right, it's natural. All right. If it was a World of Warcraft presentation, you get a bit of a pass. When you get yourself into a bit of a mess, you just shout for the Horde and you're sorted again. You're fine. You've got the crowd on side, or at least part of them. Most of them, if we're honest. And... But, you know, what are you supposed to do as a developer who's got to go... And he must have known as well, going out. He can't be that stupid. He must have known. So he's someone whose job it is to develop games. He was employed to develop games. Okay, senior developer. So, you know, presumably he showed some leadership skills as well. But nonetheless, doesn't necessarily have a lot of stage presence. It's not a big part. It's an important part of his job, sure, when BlizzCon rolls around. It's not a big part. It's not something he's necessarily well practiced in. Goes up there and he's got to tell that audience that we are developing a new game for a game series that is very popular and hasn't had anything for a while. So yeah, we're now announcing the next step in that journey. And guess what? You guys aren't going to get to play it. Of course it was going to be a disaster. They probably shouldn't have announced it at BlizzCon. They certainly shouldn't have announced it in the way that they did. And from that point of view, it was a disaster. But for the decision, it does come down to this. And it is crap for us PC players. It really is. But the bottom line is, from a business point of view, and people talking about, oh, it's going to fail from a business point of view, I really don't see how it's going to. Yes, we know, you know, you looked at the trailer, and I tweeted last night, I couldn't believe it. After just like half an hour after the announcement, there were about 1,000 likes on that trailer and 36,000 dislikes. This was bombing, so it looked. But again, who's watching that trailer? Established customers of Blizzard. You know, maybe 1,000 of whom like playing mobile games, in which case they're okay with the news. But, you know, this is a case of the mobile market is absolutely massive, way, way bigger than the PC market. And as I say, you know, because it costs much less, the profit margins are so much higher, you'd really have to have someone who loves games and gaming to have argued very strongly for them to have developed a PC version. Because from a financial point of view, the PC version, unfortunately, just doesn't make sense. And we ought to now think in these terms, and I've been thinking in these terms for a few years now. Like I said before, there could come a point where, especially if this is, because people are maybe hoping, not expecting, hoping it'll be unsuccessful. Because if it's not unsuccessful, if it does exactly what they think it will do, and I have few doubts that it will, which is to be a really good cash cow for them, it's a mobile game at the end of the day, all right, they're going to do a stunning job of it. I have no doubt they'll do a stunning job of it. So there'll be they won't skimp too much on the cost, but it doesn't cost as much as a PC version. It'll make loads of money, and then what they're going to be looking at? They're going to be looking at more mobile games for the different IPs. And maybe that means that the next Warcraft game will be a mobile game. Maybe it means the next StarCraft game will be. Maybe it means that Blizzard, in 10, 15 years' time, are making games for the mobile. And maybe consoles as well. And maybe after 10 years, there won't be any new PC games. Who knows? Who knows? But it's difficult for me to look at where technology is going and entertainment technology is going and see a place in the long term for the PC and therefore the PC gaming market. As disappointing as that is to me, and as clearly disappointing it is for the real Diablo fans as well, who of course have played those games on PC. It's just the way things are going, and it's disappointing. And if you are going to express anger at the decision, okay, don't express it at the wrong people. The developers have nothing to do with this. This is down to the people who decide how the money is to be spent. Those people who make those executive decisions, not the people that they put up on stage at Blizzcon. And because you notice we never get accountants put up there, do we? They never at BlizzCon throw out the accountants and say, right, talk to them about, you know, the financial reasons for these decisions. That doesn't happen. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you at least get some food for thought from it. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content. And until next time, with my next BlizzCon video, I'll see you later.